Do you believe in witches?
It's Halloween for young and old!
Did you know that Agatha Christie included her own self in several of her detective mysteries? Well, it wasn't a proper cameo, yet she almost certainly embedded many of her personal traits in the fabulous recurring character of Ariadne Oliver, a fictional detective writer who was assisting Hercule Poirot in solving some of the most challenging mysteries.
Thank you, Hercule.
In this episode, we will go to a Halloween party together with the beloved characters and uncover several curious real-life connections that Christie left for us in her novels.
It is time for Poirot to tell to you a story. A Halloween story.
Many of you watched at least some of the Poirot series episodes that feature an esteemed crime writer and his close friend Ariadne Oliver. She appeared in 6 Christie novels alongside Poirot from 1936 to 1972 and also features in the spooky standalone novel The Pale Horse. Curiously, she did first appear in 2 short stories alongside another Christie's detective, Parker Pyne, in Parker Pyne Investigates.
It doesn't have to be a masterpiece, Ariadne.
No. I've got to take my time. Last one looked like it had had a stroke.
She is a middle-aged novelist herself who gets inspired by the crime she sees in her own life and then uses it as a plot for her next bestseller. One of the foremost writers of the detective and other sensational stories. Sounds much like Christie already, right?
Mrs. Drake says you're a writer, the one who does the murder stories.
Yes.
You must make a lot of money out of it.
Although Agatha never mixed up in a real-life murder, perhaps that could have been a secret dream of hers. What would you say? What's more, Oliver has also created her own fictional foreign detective, Finnish Sven Hjerson. By the way, the character has recently got his own TV series set in modern-day Stockholm. Have you watched it already? I'd be curious to read your recommendations in the comments.
You have a detective who's a Finn, haven't you?
Sven Hjerson.
Why a Finn?
I've often wondered.
And just like Agatha, according to her memoirs, Ariadne sometimes, quite often, struggles with her own creation and contemplates her frustrations.
I've just realized I've got to cut one of my favorite ideas. Shame.
With her help, Christie was apparently generously sharing with us the curious insights into the life of a writer.
Chère Madame, you should not work, you should rest.
I have deadlines, Poirot, in sickness and in health.
Her Ariadne has authored more than 56 novels and greatly dislikes people modifying her characters. And this was the exact feeling Agatha had each time some new stage or movie director tried to exaggerate or completely erase some of the traits of her meticulously drawn characters.
So they thought they'd have a murder hunt instead. And they offered me a tidy sum to come and dream it up. Well, anything's better than writing.
Moreover, she also once grew tired of Poirot to the age of almost hating him at some point. I've told this story in this video about Poirot's creation.
Are you sitting comfortably?
No.
No? Good. We wouldn't want that, would we? Not on a dark and stormy night like this one.
Wait a minute, and what about the Halloween party? Right, the holiday is approaching. It somehow gets so viral despite of your own faith or beliefs, don't you agree? Luckily, Agatha Christie invited us all to a party where we could not only dive into the universe of the fancy orange pumpkins, scary skeletons, zombies and ghosts, spiced with some down-to-earth murder, but also enjoy the company of her own persona. Well, through Ariadne Oliver, of course.
Not enjoying it, huh?
is the subject matter, George. It is distasteful. Poirot, he has seen much evil in this world. He should not be the subject of such mockery.
The Halloween Party novel was released by Christie towards the end of her extremely fruitful career in 1969. The fictional novelist Ariadne Oliver found herself in a rather unusual setting in preparation for the Halloween evening party. The party consists of many Halloween-related activities. There is a spooky witch, girls look into a mirror to know what their future husbands will look like, the traditional supper, the prizes are granted, and the party ends after a game of a snapdragon.
Take care, don't take too much. Be not greedy in your clutch. Snip, snap, dragon.
By the way, many of the festive details are rather inaccurate in terms of the supposed time period. They might have been common in the 1960s when she wrote the novel, but were completely not spread in the 1930s, the deliberate time frame of the movie.
That's more a Christmassy thing, isn't it? Well, we Drakes always played at Halloween.
What makes it a real bone-chilling evening is the crazy murder by the end of it.
Hercule Poirot speaks?
Oh, thank God you're in.
The mystery riddle is really complicated, and Oliver seeks the help of her Belgian detective friend Hercule Poirot, who would embark on the setting to unfold the dramatic chain of events. Not to spoil the pleasure for those of you who haven't watched it yet, I won't disclose the details about the crime, the victim, and the investigation process. The TV adaptation with the stunning David Suchet and Zoë Wanamaker is definitely worth watching and rewatching on your spooky Halloween evening.
At this time of year in Belgium, it is the custom to light the candles in memory of the dead, not to tell the stories macabre.
By the way, I have never seen a person who didn't enjoy the character of Ariadne Oliver. Or perhaps you are that person? Share your rationale in the comments. I guess such popularity might be attributed to a large extent to the stunning acting of Zoë Wanamaker. Much like what happened to other starring actors from Agatha Christie's mysteries movies and TV adaptations, Wanamaker did first appear in another role, this time as a leading character in the fabulous Murder is Announced episode from Agatha Christie's Miss Marple. This is the version where the key part of the female sleuth is played by Geraldine McCavan. You may learn more about her in my video reviewing 7 Miss Marple actresses.
Well, I know one thing that's going to happen, and that's at 7:30 we'll have half the village up here agog with curiosity.
Especially the old fogies. They love a good murder.
Once again, no spoilers here. I just highly recommend you add it to your watch list if you like Zoë Wanamaker. She's doing a great acting job there too. And she also appeared in the first Harry Potter.
Oh, bless you.
I do beg your pardon.
Back to Halloween. This episode is a perfect opportunity to get to know more about the writer through the actions of her tentative alter ego. Just like Christie, Oliver often gets overwhelmed by her own imagination, yet always listens carefully to her intuition and trusts her instincts. She has a rather sharp tongue and a spark of mischief, well balanced with a sense of humor and really light-hearted approach to life.
Now what?
Jehovah's Witnesses?
Another perfectly matching similarity with Christine. Apart from personal traits, they both shared some particular tastes. For example, both of them didn't enjoy alcoholic drinks.
Awful. Put that in capital letters. Awful. Because, you see, it's my murder. I organised it. I don't usually drink, but Poirot gave me this for the shock.
In her autobiographical book, Come Tell Me How You Live, Agatha tells the amusing story from the first years of her second marriage, when her husband, Max Malone, was distressed to find that her appreciation of good drink, or indeed of any drink, was nil. He set to work to educate me, trying me perseveringly with clarets, burgundies, sauternes, grapes, and more desperately with Tokai, vodka, and absinthe. In the end, he acknowledged defeat. My only reaction was that some taste worse than others. With a weary sigh, Max contemplated a life in which he was condemned to the bottle of obtaining water for me in a restaurant.
I'll have to keep an eye on you, Mrs. Oliver. There'll be no apples left to bob with.
My besetting sin, I'm afraid. I can't resist them.
Another funny detail, just like her real-life prototype, Oliver used to eat apples while writing her crime novels. Once she ate as many as 5 pounds straight off while composing the complicated plot of her novel, which obviously caused a stomachache. However, by the end of the Halloween party episode, she is out of them by the unfolding events.
What is the matter? Something has upset you?
Upset me? Dear God, I shall never be able to look at another apple again.
Christie's interviewer confirmed that it was perfectly true that she often worked at her stories in a large, old-fashioned bathroom, eating apples and putting the cores on the wide mahogany surround.
Your talk tomorrow.
Ah, well, I've been meaning to have a word with you about that, Judith. I'm not feeling too clever.
Oliver hates public appearances, which were a huge nuisance to Christie herself. She revealed how hard it was to even open her mouth and say something decent when everyone's watching. So they both tried to stay out of the limelight.
What was the subject of your talk?
My writing. Awfully pleased not to have to give it, as a matter of fact. I mean, what does one say about how one writes books? You just think of an idea and force yourself to write it. What am I going to say for the other 59 minutes?
And since Agatha preferred to refrain from conflicts, she chose another method to communicate her discontent with some particular things through her proper alter ego in the books and later movies. All in all, it was not uncommon for writers of all epochs to include some supporting characters in their narratives that would express the author's thoughts and feeling on the subject. I never take my stories from real life, but the character of Ariadne Oliver does have a strong dash of myself, Christie once said in an interview. No doubt, Oliver wasn't meant to be the exact copy or a marble statue, if I may, of the writer. It seems that Christie deliberately created a somewhat exaggerated and even satirical portrait of the writer, poking fun at her own image.
You mean elephants? Sorry, I was thinking of elephants at that dinner last night.
With hesitation, I ask why.
Because the meringue got stuck in my teeth.
I see.
Those who had known Christie personally didn't describe her as an eccentric personage, while Oliver is much closer to this notion. Not exactly a parody, a portrait of Ariadne is Agatha's reflection on her own public image, which certainly reveals glimpses of her true self, yet still protects the intimate introvert personality of the author, hiding behind the curtains of the generally anticipated perception of who a bestseller author should be.
It's like a nightmare.
Or a tale of terror. Poirot, he was right, huh? Halloween is not the time for the telling of the stories macabre, but to light the candles for the dead.
Obviously, there were other Easter eggs and heroes and places that were drawn from the real life of Agatha Christie. I'll talk about some of them in my future videos, long or short. See you there. Bye-bye.
Oh, now, it's 10 o'clock. It's way past most of your bedtime. It's time to go home now. Come along now. Home, home.